Hey, Ursula here. Now, we're going to actually be in the front yard right now and hang out where there is no skunk, at least not immediately. There is one over underneath the bushes, but he's sleeping. That one is actually nocturnal. Today, what we're going to do is take a look at what I've been doing during the heat wave. Obviously, mulch is important, and today I'm going to soak more of this. This is basically a coconut coir mulch that is really dehydrated into a block, so it ships easy and it's light. And I'm going to add that to my bin so that the rainwater can soak into it and expand it. We're supposed to get more rain shortly. You can see I have overflow tomatoes that never made it into the ground. They didn't really have a place. And then what I've done is I use a soil blocker. That's what a soil blocker looks like. You fill that with a wet mix of soil and compress it, and it forms blocks which naturally air prune the roots, which means you can start beets in cubes and transplant them. Otherwise, normally you'd have to direct sow those. You can see I got one up already. These are going to be the bull's blood. They're really, really dark red, and so are the leaves. So those are, I'm starting my fall garden already. How that works, succession planting, is that we'll take a walk around here and see all the things that have yet to get into the ground. Okay, so I have this row of pots along the driveway that are all full of potatoes, and some of them have died back, and as those get harvested, I am taking that soil and that pot, just giving it a little bit of a refresher, maybe a little bit of fertilizer. I use a feather meal. It's high in nitrogen. And then I put the stragglers, all these extra tomatoes, in the pots. I cleared out the weeds here. We're gonna start putting pots all along here. I'll show you a couple. There's one there. That one I put some sweet potato starts that I didn't have space for. That's a tomato. That's gonna be a gift. That's lemon balm. Somebody said they couldn't grow lemon balm, and I laughed. I can't get rid of it. And then these are my late summer potatoes in here. So we're segueing things along. I'm trying to keep track of which potatoes are early, which ones are midsummer, and which ones are late. These are all the late ones. The early ones are up by the garage. And this whole row is basically summer potatoes. So I'll be harvesting some of these once they start looking like this. This one just got cooked in the heat dome, so I don't even know if it's got viable potatoes in it, but we're gonna find out. And then these ones here are potatoes, but they're late. They have not come up yet. And then I found one straggler on the sweet potatoes I stuck in there. So the pots and the dirt get reused. They just get a little refresher. I'll add some compost or some coconut coir to kind of perk up the soil, and then weed them. And then in here, it wasn't too late. I didn't get any yield of basil this year. from growing it inside and then bringing it out. Everything I plant here pretty much is from seed. I don't have the money to go to a garden center and buy huge pots that cost expensive amounts of things. So this was a package of seeds. The seeds were cheap, and there's going to be a lot of basil in this pot. So that's also a succession. Previous to that, the stuff that was in there last year did not reseed and come up like it normally does. So that was kind of a vacant pot. Take a look at what else is going on. As I weed and find holes for things, some of the rudbeckia is going to go in here so it hangs out with the coreopsis and the yarrow. See, there's a hole right there. That's going to get one of the flowers that's a perennial. Rudbeckia is like, it's in the coneflower family. This is an old canner that I used to use, and the bottom rusted out. It makes a great container on ground, and I just put in squash seeds. So I'm looking forward to that, and the squash can meander all through this area. Those are foxglove. They won't bloom until next year. There were also a few lupines, but the lupines typically don't like my soil, and I can't tell you why. There's a little bit of weeding I need to do. I see a corn stalk that the squirrels planted. That burgundy there, that is also a coreopsis. It just happens to be a burgundy coreopsis. So yeah, there's a lot of things in here. There's volunteer dill. And of course the feral calendula that are everywhere. And the borage is the same. The borage is the same. The foxglove does look a lot like the borage when the leaves first come up. But they're not. They're shaped different. So that's been done. Going with my one garden bed at a time. These are the currant bushes. I chopped off all the dead wood, and I put in some of my overflow flowers along the front, and they're liking the rain. I mulched everything with a coconut core. This guy needs to go in the back. That is a red vein sorrel, but the rest of this is hellebore, and I don't need any more hellebore up front. I have way too much. Another bed that's going to get attacked, and where that coconut core I showed you on the porch, the mulch, is going to go in this bed. I need to get all that crabgrass out of there. I have some really good looking Swiss chard in here. On the back side of the currant bushes, they face southwest, and they shade this section a bit. I just planted lettuce, and I don't know if it's going to come up or do well, but you know, I had the seed, and I'm out of lettuce, and it's so expensive in the store. We're going to go with that. The bees have been enjoying this borage, but I need to weed this section out. The birds ate most of my blueberries this year. There's a few on there, but we didn't pick this year. A woodpecker hollowed out a section of this dead tree, and there were chickadees being raised in it, and so they just kind of ate everything. It was a nice safe space for them with the garden gate. The cats don't get in. Okay, so I just weeded this section. This section also needs some mulch. That's a blueberry. It's still young yet. At least it survived. I wasn't sure it was gonna. I had moved it like 4 times, and it finally seems to have enough space. I've been clipping the butternut to the grid wall, but I'm afraid that it's going to pull the grid wall down. It is staked with rebar, but I don't know if that's even enough. So we're going to direct this and we'll see where it ends up going. I just put in this is a zucchini here, and I put another one in the back there, and they were pretty anemic. I wasn't sure they were going to survive. I had really poor yield with the zucchini seed this year and last year, so maybe they'll do well, maybe they won't. I do have one female on my butternut, so we're going to see how that goes. I did see one squash bug out here yesterday. Nope, not a bug. Good. The bugs that I found had the stripes, but they were really, really tiny. And in the back, my zucchini are being plagued with flea beetles, of all things. So, yeah. Tomatoes are looking good. I've got them clipped to the fence. I have one tomato that still needs to be clipped, and a sunflower that is just a chance thing that grew here, and I left it because it's a stalk. I can stake things to it. Lettuce is going to seed. This will come out soon. That'll be part of a succession too. I think as soon as I pull the lettuce out here, we're gonna see about maybe planting some spinach in front, but I've got to control the leaf miner, and I don't like having quite so many plants in the same family in the same space. So you can see I have Swiss chard here. There's a couple different kinds. And then on the other side of the path, on the back side of the tree, I have beets that are ready to come out. Look at that. And that one there, not quite ready yet. But this needs to get weeded and also mulched to keep the weeds down. I have to find, I have ever-bearing strawberries in here. The red that you see are my fake rocks to keep the birds from eating them. Here you can see that's a real strawberry, and that's the fake strawberry. Try and pair them up, but I don't even know where my strawberries are in this mess because the bindweed took over a huge section of it. You can see the tree is being decomposed. So we're working on succession planting, and I cleaned up the rhubarb. That was another bed I did. There's parsley in here that the flowers overgrew this whole section, and then that is not Queen Anne's lace, that's actually carrots that I planted last fall. I checked. And then I've got my pile of weeds here composting on the ground. There's nothing growing in this section, so I will probably put some plants in here, maybe another squash. I've got a watermelon that needs a home. That might be a good place for it, is right here. I'm waiting to see whether this is actually going to turn out to be a coneflower or a weed. We have some kind of a weed with ticks that is in the backyard, and I suspect that's one of them. I don't think it's actually one of the purple coneflowers, but they look similar until they start to bloom. So I'm going to leave that until I know for sure. And then, like I said, probably going to put the watermelon in here. And then at some point, that mess has got to get attended to. That's on my list. So that's it for now. Take care, everybody. Have a good day. Okay, I want to show you real quick how similar these look. The leaf in my hand comes from a coneflower. Okay, and this one here, you can see the veins are different, whereas this one, they come from the base down here and they go up. This one, the veins are all along it, and it's different. And this is a plant that gets a burr. Well, not really a burr. We call it tick seed, but I don't know what it's really called. It gets these little tiny seeds with 2 prongs on them that stick to your clothes, and they're very annoying. And I guess a couple of them made it up here from the back alley, so they're just getting composted in place. So that opens this whole section up. It's about 3 feet by 3 feet. I'm going to loosen the soil a little bit, and I'm going to take the leftover soil from some of my potato bags. I did some potato harvest, and the leftover soil from that is going to get amended with some coconut coir and probably a scoop or so of feather meal. And we're going to blend that in here, and I'm going to transplant. I've got a honey nut and I've got a watermelon that never found a home. So we're going to try and get those in here and see if they can thrive in a new location. If not, I'm going to have to replant them. Anyway, that's what I'm up to. I just want to amend what I said about tick. It's tick seed. It's an annoying plant, whatever it is called. And unfortunately, it looks really similar unless you look at it real close. So that's all we're doing today.